Alright, Chapter 10, Alternate Petroleum Oil Lubricant Facilities. 184. Unified Facility Criteria of the Design of Petroleum Fuel Facilities, UFC 34601, 2010. Chapter 10, Alternate Petroleum Oil Lubricant Facilities. 10.1 Introduction. The chapter provides guidance for the design of alternate petroleum oil lubricant facilities, alternate fuel discussed with the LPG, and compressed natural gas, hydrogen design, OTTO fuel. The chapter contains the information protected with which is unique. Therefore, some of the special considerations discussed and additional information provided in Chapter 2, general design information which contains important fuel for the fueling facilities. Do not start the design of any of the fueling system without becoming completely familiar with Chapter 2 of the UFC. Um, 10.2, the liquid petroleum gas. 10.2.1, the use of liquid petroleum gases procured and methods of transportation for the fuel as follows. The liquid petroleum gas is used for the general heating, the metal cutting, brazing, handling, in laboratory. Liquid petroleum gas is produced with a cylinder and four bulk storage in the tank of the car of the tank or truck. Cylinders usually contain 100 pounds of gas in liquid state. Fuel supply of the firefighting trainers, crashing, a rescue training facility, where is economically justified liquid petroleum gas facility supplement, utility supplied gas system needing peaking loads in the standby where the interruption of supply is possible. Standby liquid petroleum gas facility serving the large capacity equipment such as the boilers of 200,000 British thermal units per hour and above may consist of a separate gas system to an alternate set of the burners on the equipment. Two, for the gas system serving multiple small appliances provided with the standby equipment, which means for air mixing to dilute with liquid petroleum gas for the proper amount of the air much combustion characteristics each of the natural manufactured gas serving the system can place with the utility supplied gas and in conjunction with reducing the utility peak loads. 10.2.2. General design consideration: liquid petroleum gas, odorless, colorless, non-toxic, heavy air, and explosive that permit easier leak detection. Artificial odor may introduce when shipped within a refinery. Understand the atmospheric condition. Liquid petroleum gas is a vapor phase, but is liquefied under the moderate pressure of the shipping storage. The maximum vapor pressure for the liquid petroleum gas design is 250 psi for the gallons at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. All liquid petroleum gases purchased for the military should emit distinct odor and the concentration required with the NFPA 58C facility plates of the 07, 27, 028, 029, 30, 030. 10.2.2.1 fire hazards in the vapor phase of liquid petroleum gas hazard comparable to flammable natural manufactured gas. The explosive range with the 216 with the 96% with the volume air gas mixture to prevent proper ventilation in accordance with the NFP 58. Liquid petroleum gas is high volatile flame liquid because of the rapid vaporization. Liquid petroleum gas fires basically the gas fire. Therefore, in the event of the fire, provide means for the automatic shut off of liquid petroleum gas supply with the feeding of the fire. Provide emergency shutoff consistent with a combination of three modes: manual shutoff mode, remote shutoff mode, thermal shutoff mode. Remote shutoff normally consisting of a nitrogen system with a plastic tubing. The control point with the pressure held holds up at the valve. The plastic tubing acts as a fusible link provided with a cable realistic shutoff. The remote of the shutoff combination shutoff referable to UFC 41790 American Petroleum Standard 250 2510. Provide leak detection in accordance with an NFPA 59 for liquid petroleum gas equipment located inside the buildings where the potential of loss for the liquid petroleum gas provided with an alarm detection system with local or remote alarms. Audible, visual, low ventilation to doors will panic hardware with the leak detector readout with the readouts outside with the leak detector kit located outside the number 10222 refrigeration effects. At normal atmospheric pressure, the boiling point of the propane is negative 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Propane in liquid state, open to the atmosphere, will evaporate, not boil. Provide means of address of the operational concerns described with the following paragraph. For liquid petroleum gas, expand with regular from the vapor pressure. The normal surface pressure for the cooling effect with the freeze of the regulator with the water present with liquid petroleum gas. Freeze up can also occur with the equipment with the accumulates with the water of the strainers and the control valve with the freezing effect can also result in the exterior ice the formation which disrupts the valve operator. Freeze ups can be avoided by cleaning and nitrogen purging system. Although it's dehydrated at the refinery, provided with the means to keep the liquid petroleum dry. and flash and vapor from liquid phase of the refrigeration effect can be observed, and an abrupt pressure drop occurs there. This is a design system that provides the means to avoid this problem. 10223 Design Standards. Using the following reference, the general design safety standards for all liquid petroleum gas facilities will follow the particular section and standards applicable to the type of the facilities which occur. Conflicts occurs use of the most stringent requirements. Appropriate standards are follows: NFPA 54, NFPA 58, NFPA 59, API Standard 2510, Gas Pressure Association Standard 2410, Commercial Item Description AA 59666, Section ICW, IC4BW, IC4E, IC4BA. UFC 417901, Factory Mutual Engineering Corp. Loss of Prevention Data Liquid Petroleum Gases, Section 7555. Receiving facilities 1023, design considerization liquid petroleum can be received with the truck or the rail, water for the either the cylinder, ball, the gas, or bulk systems. 10232, the transfer methods design the facility accommodated with one of the following transfer methods. No pumping pressurizing facilities are required for the small bulk system utilizing truck delivery using pumping equipment provided on the truck instead of the stationary pumps. Provided liquid petroleum gas on vapor piping pumps, compressor for offloading tanker cars, waterborne and liquid petroleum gas tanks are to operate as follows. Provide the compressor pipe at the take off suction of the vapor space of the storage tanks to be filled through the equalizing and the pressure tanks to be offloaded with the forces the liquid petroleum gas out of the liquid offloading line into the storage tanks, arranging piping so that they are offloading liquid and evacuated with compression suction and release reverse to pumping liquid petroleum gas. From the delivery tank to the storage tank through the subsurface dip tube. Provide connections valving to allow the bleeding of the liquid propane with the connection, the shutting off the valve at both of the housing end at offloading piping. This is done after the offloading liquid from either the transport or truck, tank, or car provided with a bleed attachment built in offloading equipment for the purpose. See facility plate 027, 028, 029, 030 for the typical installation provided with the liquid pumps and standbys for the compressor. Provide the transfer point for the trucks and tanker cars, the substantial concrete bulkhead, anchor for the piping and the bulkhead. Do not use pipe sleeves provided with the bulkhead hose and the swivel type piping connection. Bulkhead provides the breakaway point for if the truck or the tanker car moves away from the first that is connected to the hose. Also provide emergency shutoff and excessive flow valves. Refer to the NFPA 58 UFC 417901. Additional information. Flow rates. Using the following flow rates, provide the flow rates commensurate with the storage capacity and the size of the pumps, compressor loading devices. Provide flow rates that allow the operator the adequate time to shut down the facilities before tanker trucks are filled with beyond maximal allowable limit rates. Flow rates for the tanks and setting excessive flow valves. Provided with the offloading lines with the manually operated throttle valves so the operators can adjust the flow rates to the points below the shutoff settings of the excess flow valves. 1024 storage facilities. 10421's type of the storage is type of the storage facilities included the cylinders, bulk storage tanks, provided the cylinders containers that conform with the ASME the criteria described in the guide specifications. Use the tank is or not allowed number of cylinders at facility depending on the maximum required flow rate, the vaporization rate per cylinder at the minimum operating temperature. Provide bulk storage as follows. Fuel storage is to take up a 30,000 gallon capacity using horizontal steel tanks. Forged tanks above the 30,000 gauge capacity uses spherical and spheroid tanks. Steel tanks do not use underground tanks for liquid petroleum gas. 10242 number, size, and bulk tanks. Storage capacity depends on the requirements, frequency, deliverables, and dependability of the supply. Consider a multiple tank system for the more dependable. 10243 designing requirements. Designing requirements are as follows. Tanks and appurtenancies require conformance with an NFPA 58 API standard 2510. Designing liquid petroleum tanks for a minimum working pressure of 25 psi per gallon. Tank spacing requires conformance to the UFC 417901 field manual criteria. See the face plates of the 029030 provide sufficient flexibility in piping connections to the tanks to allow the differential sediment of the tank equipment. Provide cathodic protection in accordance with Chapter 2 of this UFC. If using the compressor transfer system that hits the tanks to the dip pipe, the maximum of 3/4 inch diameter gas inlets of the compressor so the gas pumps into the storage tanks from the empty delivery vessels bubble through the liquid petroleum to prevent overpressuring the tanks. Provided with a flow actuated high-level alarm set with the maximum permissible filling level of 80% of all the tanks at 3,000 gallons of capacity above. If using installed transfer system, provide pressure switches on the tanks to set up a pressure of 5 psi gallons below the set pressure of the safety valves to stop the compressor pumps from transferring the liquid petroleum gas to the tanks. Control the tanks to the ASME code and have ASME national registration number. Size storage tanks with 120% of the required storage volume. Electrical grounding at all storage tanks. Inspection and testing certifications. Inspecting, testing, certifying all new unfired pressure vessels prior to the placing in internal operation. Do not operate unified pressure valves. Unified unfired pressure vessels without a valid certificate. Perform the following tests of the unfired pressure vessels. The general unprovided pressure vessel site inspection, external unified pressure vessel inspection, internal unified pressure valve inspection, hydrostatically tested strength and tightness test, and operational testing. Inspectors must be registered with the National Board of the Boiler Pressure Vessel. Inspector must possess certificate of competency of the National Board of the Boiler Pressure and Vessel. Inspectors, National Board of Inspection Code, NBIC. Upon the completion of passing the inspection test, the tanking will be certified. Post a current valid certificate on the unified pressure vessel under the protective coating. 10.25 Distributing facilities. See facility plate 027, 028, 029, 030. 10.25 General design consideration. The following distribution system requirements to apply the transfer of both the gases and liquid phases of liquid petroleum gas. Lay out all the distribution piping underground when practicable. Provide all the required flow rates. Install electrical equipment in accordance with the NFPA 70 API RP 500. Use electrical equipment approved with each of the classified areas. Ensure the electrical design conforms to the API RP 540. Ground and bounding all pipe the tanks and equipment in accordance with the API RP 2003, API standard 2510, APR 540, and NFP 70. Further, the chapter of the UFC corrosion protection requirements for underground piping. 10.25 Piping materials. Provide pipe with the valid fittings and components with the application section APS standard 2510 with the use of the scheduled 80 welding carbon steel. Threaded connections are only allowed with the valves and equipment that provide the design character of the features of the gas and liquid petroleum pipelines in accordance with the Chapter 9 of the USC. The minimum design pressure for liquid petroleum gas piping is 350 psi of the gallons as required by the NFPA 58. Use the class 300 ANSI flanges as minimum. 10.253 Accessories. Provided totalizing the type of the meters, pressure gauge, the thermometer, the strain of the surge compressors, to ensure the meters of the turbine type, the pressure, the temperature, compensation, having electrical digital readout capability, install meters if required in accordance with the requirements of the API, MPMS5. Provide pressure gauge with a suitable range of all the tanks and on suction and discharge of the pump, the compressor, on inlet and outlet vaporize, and downstream on throttle valves. Provide thermometer on all tanks of the all transfer lines with both liquid and gas on the inlet and outlet vaporize. Provide strainers and compressor suction upstream of the meters, the control valves. Provide surge suppressors on the liquid lines if required. Provide knockout drums and scrubbers and suitable capacities and suction lines capacitors to remove the entrained liquid, and provided the drums with the high-level shutdown devices, automatic liquid drainers, and glass gauges and drains. Ensure all the valves of the UL listed FM federal field manual approved the liquid petroleum gallon service at the minimum of use of the class of 300 values. Provide equipment to inject alcohol with the liquid petroleum offloading the line. Provide the equipment capable of injecting alcohol at the rate of 1/800 alcohol liquid petroleum gas by the volume. 10.25 Pump the compressor. The design install pump compressors in accordance with the AP standard 2510 RFMEA 58. 10.255 Vaporize. Provide vaporizing equipment for the distribution facility as follows. Provide vaporize at the location where liquid temperatures are too low to produce sufficient vapor pressure to meet maximum required flow rate. Use vaporizers that are indirectly fire type with the utilizing steam in the hot water and the heating medium and direct fire water bath type. Size of vapors to provide with at least 125% of the expected peak load. Design and install vapors in accordance with the NFP 58. We use water bath vapors approved with the factory mutual space water bath vapors in accordance with the FM section 7555. Except for the provided with the minimum 75 feet between the truck offload and the station tanker storage, where the space is limited to provide a blast wall as the truck offloading stations. When using a water bath, vapors provided with the fire-safe fusible link, shut off the valve with the liquid petroleum gas to the supplying pipe of the vapors. Is provided with the remote shut off with the capability of 24-hour remote monitoring. When using water vaporized provided with automatic access the flow of the emergency shutoff valve to liquid petroleum gas supply lines of the vaporized used hydraulically operated with the diaphragm control valve located at the tank of the storage. 10256 controls. Provided the following controls use a pump and a compressor that can be started with the stop and by manual push button. Provide automatic limit switches as follows. Provide pressure switches on the storage tank at the set with the 5 psi of gallons below the relief valve setting. The liquid level switches on the storage tank at the maximum filling levels. Liquid level switches on the knockout drum set up the shut off of the compressor at the high liquid levels. High pressure switches the compressed discharge the shut off of the compressor at the safe of the pressure levels. Provide manually operated with throttle valves and liquid offloading of the lines that adjust the flowing rates below the excessive flow valve. The settings on the delivery tanks should provide a slow fill indicator liquid lanes near the throttle vapors. Provide automatic temperature, pressure, and limiting controls on the vaporizer in accordance with the NFPA 58. 102.6 air mixing facilities. 102.6.1 pressure control to provide with the control of the valves in both air gas lines, and the air mixing equipment to provide with the low pressure air alarm both lines and shut off the gas in the event of the flow of the pressure. 102.6.2 the volumetric controls provided with volumetric controls all distributing facilities as follows. Provide displacement type of the flow type of the meters in both airs and gas lines to maintain proper proportional flow of air and gas. Use ventral type proportional with the use of variation demand of the flow rate do not exceed the limited range of the ventral proportional with the same annual flow rate varies excessively. Use the ventral type the proportional in conjunction with the downstream storage tank. If economically justified, the storage tank will permanent the verifying the rate flow in the system will be filled with continually intermittent and at the constant rate of flow through proportional. 10263 specific gravity identification provided specific gravity indicative record of high and low switches the sound alarm with the variation of specific gravity of the air gas mixtures exceeds the acceptable limits of the system. For air mixing system using liquid petroleum gas with the propane content of the 90% above the specific grade of the air gas mixture is a sufficient accurate index of the BTU with the joule content, so the calorimetric controls and the indication are not required. 10264 calorimetric controls were economically justified provided with the automatic calorimeter indicated the record BTU and joules content with the air of the gas mixture provided with the higher or low limit switches the calorimeter to sound an alarm, and if the variation of the BTU content exceeds the acceptable limits of the system, compressed natural gas. Design compressed natural gas storage and dispensing facilities comply with the NFPA 52 and appropriate with sections of NFPA 55. 1031 users that can compress natural gas primarily use the alternative fuel in light dual-duty vehicles, although it is chirogenic counterpart liquid natural gas are again acceptable in heavy-duty applications. Energy policy and mandated with a certain reservation for that physical year of 2000. Thereafter, the 75% of light-duty vehicles purchased by the government, you will use alternative fuels. Therefore, there will be a significantly increase in alternative fuel consumption. Alright, 10.30.3.2 General Design Consideration 10.3.2.1 System Sizing. The size system determining the total daily fuel compensation of the basic liquid liquid natural gas based on the daily miles driven to determine the number to be refueled each day. The number of vehicles refueled during the surge limits the capacity of the most valve to fill. As filled with 3 to 6 minutes operation should the vehicle's speed to refuel through the day will effectively increase the system capacity. Use the computer program to size the system because the manual calculations result in the larger system that needed to refer the Gas Technology Institute reference section of the UFC in order the information for one of the possible programs use the latest version. 10.3.2.2 Future Requirements. Anticipated future requirements of seizing of the system, but normally limited to the project of 100 to 150 standard cubic feet per minute. If additional the capabilities needed for the future plan a second system later in the considering other options such as also as slow fill system over the night refueling provided with the redundancy and the reduced and initial cost. The usually surge requirements drive machine size can be controlled by management action. Additional boosters operation with the system pressure of the special control system may increase the surge handling capacity of 25 to 30% with gas and cascade systems available for as fill operation booster and special control systems can increase it's 2 to 60%. The combination of these actions could delay the install of the second system many of the years at the most installations. 10.3.2.3 pressures. Most vehicles concerning the 3,000 psig pressure square inch of the gallon stored to the system, while original equipment manufactured 3,600 ps psi G. The system of the compressor should operate with up to 5,000 psi G to refuel at either the pressure. 10324, the connection. Design the system to be skin mounted with the compressor system with the cascade storage with the controls limited to the field tie downs connecting electricity, high and low pressure gases. 10325, compressors use crosshead guide with the type of the compressor for the compressed national gas service. Although the more expensive design life, the user unit is significantly longer than other options. Conventional style compressors are designed specifically with the compressed national gas service. Does not use modified air to compromise, but to choose the type of the compromise after comparing the maintenance and reliability data. Test all compromise at the factory of the natural gas before shipping. 10326, compressor drives use either the electrical engineering drive with the compressor drive. The gas engine drives are less expensive to operate. The maintenance costs are higher. The use of life cycle cost analysis to determine the compressed drive is the best. Although the engine-driven compressor is more expensive than an electrical motor, the electrical upgrade content costs may be reduced. It also may be able to operate during the power outages. 10327, compressor inlet pressure. Suction pressure is the key factor of selecting a compressor using a high pressure gas to reduce the both initial and operation costs. Avoid pressure less than 220 psi or a low pressure of the lines are near each of the other pressure differential least to 150 psi. 200 psi is preferred with a low pressure line, but as continuous loaded system can be installed with the powered by the differential pressure. Such systems are extremely effective with how low and initial operating cost the high the pressure and differential exists. Another option is the turbine to drive the compressor. 328 system. Install the cascade system using the ASME vessels. The tubes, the spheres, the void, the banks of the Department of Transportation cylinders. Since they must be inspected every 5 years. 10329 controls use of pneumatic electronic controls depending on local practice. The electronic controls are preferred with most areas provided because they provide with more accurate compensation for the temperature effects. Pneumatic controls are simpler but do not fill tanks to their limits. Normally, this is not a problem since the base of the vehicles do not normally operate at the maximum range of the 1 day. Since the vehicle tank pressure is rated with the 70 degrees of the Fahrenheit, the tanks will be filled with the higher pressure when the outside temperatures are warmer, lower pressure when the temperatures are cooler. 10310 dispensers. Although the more expensive provided with the conventional rather than the most style dispensers to reduce installation costs, the use of dispenser with electronically and internally mounted at the calibrated at the factory dispenser making the compressed natural gas refueling similar to conventional refueling depending on the funds. Post-style dispenser is an option. 10311 using the industrial standard nozzle composed of the three-pass pressure ranges of 240 psi, 300 psi, 360 psi. The nozzles are designed to fill the system that cannot connect to vehicle tank with a lower pressure rating, yet it connects the vehicle tanks at a higher rating. 3212 environmental conditions. Compressor units receivers usually blown down automatically, releasing about 0.6 hundredths of the gallon of oil at the base of the subsequential discharge. Discharge of any other components such as the internal coolers for the additive contaminant. Therefore, the dripping gutters of the drains are required at each of the corner of the base, developing a means of collection and retention of these wells. Ways to deactivating the automatic dump the features manually draining is alternatively to a cooling system. Provide the gas recovery as part of the compressor package to the recovery system and recover the gas in the ASME. Recapture the tank when floating the compressor at the ground. The dispenser provided with the vent of the 8 feet to 10 feet above the ground level to discharge vent gas for the dispenser hose. The overside of the conduit of the dispenser cascade for a vent line to the future of the gas recovery system. Locate units carefully with the because of the noise landscape to conceal the units and attention and nudity of the sound natural gas engine that drives that is used may require an air emission and permit. 103.2.13 weather and minimum particular compressor unit with the weather scale with the canopy. The colder climates use held in shelter enclosed with the sound attenuation. Some of the vendors have an enclosure of the normal operation costs vary widely depending on the degree of the protection. Enclosure may require ventilation for the Class 1 Division 1 classified electrical components. This should also be accessible to inspector servicing personnel in lieu of the heat of the facility. Enclosure crankcase heaters or circulating block heaters may be suitable in moderately cold climates. 103.2.14 coatings. Compressed natural gas equipment from the factory painted with a special coating with a climatic condition warrant. Select a color from the base of the color scheme. Light beige is a practical choice. White is poor choice since its heat operation discolors it. Storage contains more may have been painted white with blue letters to meet codes. 10.3.2.15 water content. The natural gas varies with the region. The gas is the southeast on the United States, the usual dry, while the gas is West Virginia is very wet. Provided the dryers of the dry gas to the pressure storage pressure dew point at the point at least the 10 degrees Fahrenheit below the winter design dry bulb temperature. 10.3.2.16 Design Standards Design Compressed Natural Gas System, the NFPA 52 and NFPA 54 with the gas supply with the compressor for the US ASM and boiler pressure vessel code for the cascade storage. Electrical work must conform to the NFPA 70 allocating compressed natural gas station. Also need the FPA 30A. The 10.3.8.3 warning during the peak demand period, suppliers mix propane air mixtures natural gas when amountingly exceeds 10% of the volume. The compressed natural gas produced this from gas normally not performing properly with compressed natural gas vehicles because the propane becomes a permanent liquid in the storage tanks. Oxygen sensors can be installed to shut down the station during such a period. Installation with the situation should be used dual fuel vehicles. Hydrogen storage serving facilities 1041 using a blending of 70% hydrogen, 40% water. The known as 870 fuel is used to operate with the F-16 emergency power unit. The F-16 870 tank carries the 56 pounds of fuel requires servicing after the fuel has been used. The 870 tanks are removed from the aircraft when the fuel is depleted below the level specified as using the activity tanks are delivered to the servicing facility where any of the remaining fuel is drained and closed with a 55-gallon stainless steel drum. The aircraft H-70 tank is filling. Use the closed system charging the unit either to return to the aircraft or place in the handling storage container for the future use. The bulk H-70 storage tank is a 55-gallon stainless steel drum. The container approximately 11 gallons, 51 gallons of 57 nitrogen gas is used in the in-air pressure head of the bulk drum. The transfer to H-70 to the charging unit. The charging unit is 75 inches long with 36 inches wire. The 92 inches of the higher the weight, approximately 475 pounds, and an F-16 tactical wing is expected to use approximately 100 gallons of the 870 per 20,000 flight hours with additional minimum 150 gallons held in reserve to handle deployment and safety stock considerate requirements. 1042, General Design Consideration 870 carries the compatible group, the designation Group C, separate 870 fuel storage, liquid gas or oxygen stored in accordance with the AFMAN 91201. Locate the facility at the minimum of the 50 feet at the pump on explosive storage in accordance with the AFMAN 91201. Locate the facility at the minimum of 100 feet of the public highways, civilian group, living arrangements, public facilities such as schools, churches, clubs, sewage treatment plants, rivers, lakes, and streams because of the bioenvironmental consideration. Segregation of the surface and storage facilities for large population concentrated with the confines of military installation subject to the criteria stated above. Store 55 gallons with the hydrogen in the facility of not less than 80 feet apart. The space was also subject to the other criteria as stated with the chapter, but the criteria is limited to 10 55-gallon drums at 20 EPU tanks provided with the tank is storage inside a approved shipping container. Refer to the Air Force AFTO 42B11. 1043 construction concept provided the 870 facility with the space for the tanking service and storage personnel hygiene. 10431 avoid access provide security hands with vehicle entrance the gate surrounding with the facility to restrict the access. Provide a doorway leading into the storage areas to allow the forklift to access. Architectural, the total area recommended for the facility 783 square feet with the 879.2 nitrogen oxide bulk storage occupying of the 210 square feet, 210 square feet, servicing storage area of 449 square feet, and the personal limit area of 124 square feet. Providing ceiling height of the 12 feet and the storage servicing areas the 8 feet within personal areas to provide hollow meter exterior and interior doors of the panic hardware automatic closure provided the double doors and 6 feet wide with allowed the equipment of movement ensure the single doors in our standard size provide a rack in the servicing storage area of the vertical drum storage bunk side up to allow the drainage of the flush water of the construction steel storage rack of the hydrogenized compatible materials such as stainless steel, plastic, or high density polyurethane. Door design floors to permit the drainage of the preventing collection of the liquids of any of the floor surfaces. 104335 protection system. The wet pipe sprinkler system was recommended consider above the ceiling of detectors as well as the room detector provided the fire extinguisher of the type approved, but they're used to combinating hydrocarbon fuel fires in regulated areas. Use the AFF if water. Do not use the halogen. This carbon dioxide extinguisher provided the Air Force, the AFTO 0025 172. The spill contaminate provides spill contamination 870 storage area with a capacity equal to larger than 110% of the largest present with a 10% of the total volume present. With the spill contaminated facility which store only one tub who drums over the 870 can be individual containers over each of the drum. Provide dike containment area for the facility with the store of multiple drums. The 870 will provide with the ramps, with vehicle access. Provide with the coating of the liner of the concrete containment areas. Do not allow exposure for the iron rebar for the contaminated areas. 10435 floor drain plans for the concrete floor with regulated area slope of the floor drains which leave the collection tank. Provided floor trench to drain 8 inches wide and 6 inches deep with 9 feet long, covered with the open stainless steel grated with the 870 fuel tank service area. The trench is required for the containing of possible 870 spillage and the periodic draining of the 870 service standards. Construction of the trench parallel with the layer wall separating with the storage area with the servicing area located with the servicing standing of the drainage spigot with the scrubber in the line with the trench drain. A polyethylene elbow connection directly from the drain is spigot for the trench for the drain is required. Ensure deluge shower and eye wash units the service air and drain into contaminated tank. Ensure the industrial sink with the protective equipment in the rooms that drains into the containment tank. Equipment drains leading to the containment tank with the traps to prevent the vapors and containment of the area. Provided the access to sanitary soup for the both cleaning and the changing of the room with the shower. The facilities construct the floor drains with the subject for carrying the 870 residue with the polypropylene and polyethanol. 10436 collection tank and the piping provided with the collection tank with the piping the materials compatible with the hydrazine water neutralizer size of the collection tank into the containing 100 times the maximal quantity of the 870 with the could be spilled with a minimum capacity of 1,000 gallons. Provided with the piping of 304 stainless steel HDP and to limited extent of the galvanized steel gas suitable materials such as Viton test the system manually with water. 10437 in the storage area provided the ground strap and the ground point system with the ground each of the drum of the 870. Locate the ground strapping around the interior of the walls of the storage room. The 54 inches above the floor with the ground system must have the resistance of 25 ohms or less. The facility must also have been improved with the lightning protection system. 10438 hygiene support criteria to provide laboratory washing facilities down regulated area, closing of the existing regulated area contingency, cleaning the changing room, provided with the shower facilities in 10 or each for less workers. Provide a cleaning change room. Provide separate areas for the removal and the contaminated clothing to prevent the spread of the potential contamination for the regulated area. Provide toilet facilities if the 870 facility is isolated from other buildings where the toilet facilities are available. Post signs would state the consumption of food, beverages, cosmetics, tobacco products, and chewing materials are prohibited. 10439 lighting provided lighting intensity of 50 candles or 540 lux in the servicing area, 300 foot candles or 320 lux in the remainder of the facility provided with the exterior and lighting and at all the entrances the security lighting is required. 104-310. Provide vapor sniffers using the H70 fuel drum storage area, the service area to alert the personnel excessive levels of the H70 fuel vapors. Provided sniffers capable of detecting 10 ppbs of the 870. The facility respiratory air system is recommended. Breathing air shall meet the least minimum grade D breathing air requirements of Title 29 CFR Part 119.10.134. Compressed Gas Association of the pamphlet G71. Provide explosional proof of the observation window of the 4 feet or by 4 feet between the 870 fuel drum storage area and the tank of the servicing area. Lighting fixture, electrical components located within the storage servicing area should be explosion proof. Provide eye wash fountains to deluge shower units with the side of the on the same level as the location with the direct exposure to 870 the curved pipe of the eye wash shower. The 870 collection tank of the post signs with the entrance of the layout area size should be worn personal with the 870 cancer suspect agent. Authorized personnel only. No smoking. All tools and equipment must be constructed with the hydrazine compatible rust free with corrosion resistant materials. 104-311 for electricity provided with 120 vac of the high 60 header single phase 3 wire 20 ampere duplex conveniency outlet in each of the air facility minimum of 6 outlets, 2-way of the switching and preferred with the controlled lighting of the 870 fuel drum storage area with the 870 fuel tank of the servicing area provided with explosion proof class 1 division 2 group C electrical fixtures. Provided with the 15-gallon per minute with a hose, the BIPB, the bib, water outlets with the backflow prevention studies of the bib with the standard low and hose with the connection located to the bib to provide with water standing on the inside of the exterior wall with the center of the servicing trunk with about 2.5 above the finished floor, below the 4 inches of the pipe with the sleeve water with the reduce the pressure type of the backflow prevented with also required with the fire suppression system potable water system. 10.4.3.12, segregated mechanical ventilation regulated versus the non-regulated areas, exhaust regulated areas through the common manifold evaluated needed for the air pollution control system on the case-to-case basis with considered federal, state, and local emissions criteria applicable to the construction location, design ventilation system for the regulated areas to maintain the negative pressure of 0.5 to 0.1 inches of the water with respect to the adjacent non-regulated areas, design ventilation for the servicing and storage areas to provide with a minimum of 20 air changes per hour, design the ventilation system for the automatic shutdown for the event of the fire for the facility, use the flexible exhaust vent of the elephant truck type of the exhaust vapor to release for the fuel hydrogen drums are open and designed for the airflow to vent in the nozzle to approximately 150 FMs or 71 liters per second. Refer to the American Conference of the Government Industrial Hygienists, Industrial Ventilation and Manual Recommendation Practice for the design. Place exhaust ports with the automatic approximately 18 inches above the floor to avoid the exhausting of the H70 vapors in their areas where personal air presents, such as walkways, escape paths. Consider placing exhaust ports above the roof line. Place a switch outside of the building near the entrance that will also personnel to turn all the exhaust fans prior to the entering of the facility. With the purge of the facility, any 870 vapors that may have collected in the facility will not use. Maintain the temperature of regulated areas below 120 degrees Fahrenheit to provide the environmental control consistent with the ventilation with the personal comfort. 10.4.3.13 waste product disposal. Any water with the 870 spills in 100 to 1 ratio to reduce the 870 concentration to less than 1%. Size the collection tank accordingly. Use neutralizers such as 65% granular calcium hydrochloride, 14% bleach or 5% bleach to stabilize the H70 water mixture. Provide storage of the HTH away from the hydrazine and other potential reactive materials. The HTH is extremely corrosive. Consult local base and environmental engineers produce the emptying of the collection tank. 10.05 OTTO fuels. Information on the OTTO fuels contained with the Navy CS 6340 AAMMA 010. Distribution of the document is restricted. Request information is handled by the Navy Sea System Command. Root of the Chapter 2 of the UFC and additional information. Chapter 11 support facilities.